I worked in Clang's factory up Cricklewood Lane, and my sister and her boyfriend then took the day off. They didn't want to take me on because I had no experience. But anyway, she talked them into it, and I was there for 2 years. And then I went on from there to Cricklewood Broadway, Smith's and Cricklewood Broadway. We were, working the machines, in the assembly shop, doing these small components. But we enjoyed it. And then, I left there to get married. I went back there, but then I didn't work for a while after that. But you meet the other people there and you get to know them all. They're all, maybe every nationality, but you get on with them all, They're very nice.
Whilst I was in Jamaica, I was one of Jamaica's top musicians. And I was asked to come to England, not by just a producer, but there's a company here named Trojan Records. They venture, and they had producers in Jamaica. So they started to invite the producers then from Jamaica to send music to England.
I came to London for the sport, really, because I like sport, running athletics and all that type of thing. And it appealed to me that there are lots of clubs here, which I joined, you see. And some of them were nearly fighting over me when I got started, when I was fit. I won quite a few medals and cups and that,
I got a job in Hanson Road School, just right down here, as a lollipop man. Its official name is Road Crossing Patrol. We call it Lollipop Man. I worked there for many, many years. And 1 year I was granted a public award for my service at Hanson Road School there, which I still have my public award at home.
I emigrated in the 2 decades after the Second World War, after 1945. About 1.2 million Irish people all left. And they left because there wasn't any money for them. I came over, I was about 15 at the time, with my father. He had never been out of the country before. And we came to an employer we used to advertise in Irish papers, all these employers advertised in Irish papers that they had jobs going. It was a fairly tough life. You got up in the morning, you found a place to live if you could. Often guys didn't find a place. They just slept on the building site. They came over with a cardboard suitcase, so they had no property. Everything fit into the cardboard suitcase. And in one case, one man described, he saw his neighbour opening the cardboard suitcase because he used to have to be stopped at the customs. And all he had was a pair of boots inside it.
My mother was already residing in England, so I came over to be with her. And so I schooled, part of my schooling was here in Alberton. And I used to go to Alberton High, which is just in Ealing Road. So that was my reason to join my mother. I started my training at Mount Vernon over in Northwood, and it was joined with Harefield Hospital. So that's my training hospital. And then I came back into this area, obviously. I still had to come down this way to get my food products, etc. Getting my hair done and that sort of thing.
I worked in our building site and it was a poor time. I had to send some of my wages home because of the family of them there. And there was nothing there. There was nothing in Ireland for us. There was too much class distinction there. Unless you have plenty of money and land, you were nobody.
My husband was the best. He was so funny. He came here in the Windrush time Of course, he's much older than me. But yeah, when he came over in the Windrush time, he came in the 60s. And to what he told me, they had it very hard, but they were determined to, you know, put their shoulder to the wheel and work because they wanted something better for themselves and their family.
Back when Caribbean people first came to UK, some came in the 50s, some came 60s. In fact, some even came earlier than that. But there was a government call out for workers, and so lots of people came over from the Caribbean for a better opportunity, a better lifestyle, and they were going to be filling particular industries. So transport was one of them, the postal industry was another, and also nursing was quite a big industry that they were going to be filling. They were told, some of them, and some of them actually believed, that the streets of London were paved with gold and money. So I guess that was an enticement for them to come, because some of them arrived intending to kind of be here for a short period of time and then save money and return home to help with their better life. But what actually happened was they stayed, they got involved in the industries, and then they started to send for the family members that they'd left back home in the Caribbean, and then the entire family migrated.
You set off at about 6 o'clock in the morning. The lorries were waiting there for you, and you were then, because this is North London, NW, it was easy to get onto the new motorways that were being built right across England. So you were paid by the day. You were given a cheque because you had no bank account, and so you had to get the cheque changed somewhere. So you usually got it changed in a pub, and often you didn't get the change of the thing until you had drunk your way and bought drinks for all your friends.
Though we speak English where I'm from, it's a different accent because most of my school friends spoke in Cockney, and so I didn't know what they were talking about. And even the grocers, the greengrocers, not like it is now where most of the greengrocers are run by the Indian population. It was English. I went to go and get potatoes, and I only know the white potatoes where I'm from. The other potatoes are red potatoes, so I didn't see any of that. So I saw white potatoes. My mother sent me to go and get some potatoes, and the potatoes were all there, different colors, and I'm thinking, wow. So the guy said to me, "What can I do for you, love?" And I didn't, so I just wanted some potatoes. And he says, "Which ones?" And I'm thinking, I don't know which one he wanted, which one I needed. I said, "The ones over there, whites?" And then he started calling out the names of all these potatoes, and I never knew they existed. So that was like a culture shock for me.
We used to have dances. Those days was the days when black people, as I may say, keep dance at our house each week, and we would sell cooked food and drinks, beers and whiskeys and everything there to build up our finance. And most of that behavior goes into buying a house. One of those music those days we call the reggae. It's a West Indian music, the reggae. We would not have been playing the European music. We're playing the reggae. For us to have fun and a laugh and a wicker with your personal companion, that's where we would be. We would not be down at the club and clubs and crowds. We would be down the house with your friends and companion having a laugh and a wicker and making a few shillings at the same time to improve your tomorrow.
Well, I went to the Galtee Moor, it's just up the road. I met my husband there, so yeah, there was a Kaylee and a mother inside, which was very good. And we had great times there. When you first went there, they had no drink, you know, which was great. It was only from 8 till 11. And then you're finished and went home, you danced all night. But it was much later in the time that they started the drinks, like all you'd have there is a cup of tea when you at first. It was fine, you know. We loved dancing.
I used to know a guy named Ken Kenwood. Ken Kenwood, right? He's a guitarist, wicked guitarist, and he used to work with the BBC, right? Orchestra, right? We were doing a dub over with a guy named Carl Malcolm. So when we went to BBC, it's like they didn't want us to play. And Ken, get up, he's a guitarist, and he said, you know, I'll give you my space. When reggae music played, they used to have dancers dance to it. The reggae music is playing, but they're doing routine, dance routine, so they didn't want the actual singer singing it, right? And it's like, no, the guy who sings it is here, right? Make him perform in BBC studio down there in White City. And we had a big discussion, the union get involved and say, look, are we a member of the musician union? I say, yeah, I'm a member of the musician union. Me and then the keyboard player, which the producer who produced that song took, you know, with him. And Ken, he was willing to give up his seat. Even though he was playing with the BBC orchestra. I said, look, man, play, man, and give me his guitar. That's one of my good member, you know, with a good Irishman, you know, who said, look, man. But I never actually play with Irish band, but I have good vibes with Irish people. And in the end, me and my friend ended up playing off screen, you know, them call it, you know, off vision. You know, you have two sets of a thing in BBC. Visual, where you're up there, you're playing with them, and off visual, meaning you're just a musician. Them. Still, you're still playing, but the camera's not gonna go on you.
Did your husband ever have any experiences, you know, because the Windrush generation kind of came over
to
around
build.
the same time as all of the Irish as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember him telling you any stories with Irish people?
Yes, he always said they are good workers and they always get on well. They are like Jamaicans, you know, because, you know, when they had this, well, I didn't know about it, but they always have this sign like when they want something to rent, they would put no Irish, no blacks, no, you understand. But he used to work with Irish guys because he said he used to hang out with some of them in Cricklewood because he was a chippy, he was a carpenter.
I think there are some things you kind of have to experience to know. So that, you know, there was lots of racism back there. There still is today. Some people think now that it's better, and I beg to differ. I don't think it's better. I think what it is that it's different. So people don't have an understanding that racism is still very rife. It's just probably done in a slightly different way. So people now think that it's different from then, but actually it's very much the same. I think what they can't understand about being an immigrant is that unless you've experienced the treatment that we received as people coming into the UK, you can't really understand it. It's not a part of your cultural heritage, so you can't understand what it is to be out of your native country and then to be in another country where you thought that you were going to be welcomed, where you thought that because you were called for, that you were going to be treated well, and then that you weren't. When they arrived here, what they expected was somewhat different. So they expected a great reception because there was a call out for them to arrive. They expected a great reception. They expected to get housing very easily, get jobs very easily, and to be welcomed. It wasn't easy for most of them to find accommodation. So they'd arrive at the houses that they were looking to secure some accommodation, and there would be a sign on the door that said, "No blacks, no Irish, no dogs." So therefore they couldn't kind of knock on the door and then expect to be accommodated. It meant that strangers were often sharing one room. You could have 5 to 6 men probably in a room, and sometimes families were in the one room because it was so difficult for them to get accommodation.
I didn't know what racism was, because in Jamaica, when you go, our motto is out of men, one people. I went to school, my schoolmate, them was white. I've got white friends and they can speak different words of me. You know what I mean? They're white. They were just my schoolmate. When I tell people, say, "Oh, one of my schoolmates was a white guy," I'm saying, "Well, you lie." I say, "Of course, I don't talk. We have Chinese friends." So we didn't know about racism until people, when I come here, I really realized that, that kind of segregation. You can't do this or, can't do that.
I had rooms mostly around Hendon area, Hendon and West Hendon, and rooms here and there, Eventually I bought a flat on First Avenue. And moving around in different rooms, sometimes you get a nice room and you try and hang on to it, and then you get used to the people, and I remember an old lady didn't want me to leave because I liked helping old people and that, I always make a point of that, really, and or people that are stuck, because I think it's part of your life, and you make them happier as well, sort of, When you've been through a lot of things yourself, you say, well, I'm not going to say nothing against anybody, really. Do your best for everybody. It doesn't matter what they say, It does you good if you're that way kind, you see. And you say to yourself, at the end of the day, I used to have a song, "At the end of the day, just kneel and pray. Thank our Lord for his work and say, I've tried to be good. I know that I should. That's my prayer at the end of the day."